All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, a week after suffering one of the biggest upsets in the history of the program, the Alabama Crimson Tide were expected to get back on track today at home when they hosted the South Carolina Gamecocks. And at first, it appeared that was what we were going to see when the Crimson Tide took the game's opening kickoff and marched down the field on a touchdown drive. And late in the second quarter, Alabama found themselves up 14 to nothing before things began to fall apart. As in the last 97 seconds of the half, we saw South Carolina score 12 points to make this game very, very interesting. And in those 12 points was a safety recorded by the Gamecocks defense when Jalen Milroe was penalized for intentional grounding in the end zone. And at this point, okay, South Carolina was down 14 to 12 after they kicked the field goal as time expired. You could see that the momentum had shifted in this contest in favor of the Gamecocks. They took that opening kickoff to begin the second half and they marched down the field on a long touchdown drive that ate up nearly 9 minutes of game clock to give the Gamecocks the 19 to 14 lead. And you look at this Alabama team, they took the field today as three touchdown favorites, okay? But they found themselves in a dogfight this afternoon as they headed to the fourth quarter down 5 points. They took the lead back early in the fourth quarter on a touchdown run from Jalen Milroe to make it 20 to 19. The 2 point conversion was no good. But then later on in the fourth, it looked like Alabama was going to be able to seal this game when Milroe connected with Jeremy Bernard on a 34-yard touchdown pass with just under 2 minutes left to give the Crimson Tide the 27 to 19 lead. But from there, Alabama's defense could not seal the deal. Key penalties on South Carolina's ensuing drive, helped out the Gamecocks. The offside penalty, the personal foul face mask penalty, and then eventually we saw the Gamecocks get into scoring range, scored the touchdown when Lenora Sellers connected with Nick Harbor from 31 yards out. But nonetheless, South Carolina could not convert on the 2 point conversion, and they had to settle for Alabama being up 27 to 25. But from there, the Crimson Tide being unable, they had multiple opportunities to recover that onside kick, and they didn't. South Carolina got the football back, and they had an opportunity, but Alabama's defense did step up in the end. And of course, the interception by Damani Jackson at the buzzer sealed it as Alabama was able to survive South Carolina today by the score of 27 to 25. So, of course, some people are going to ask, what's going on with the Crimson Tide right now? Of course, we saw them last week be upset on the road, courtesy of Vanderbilt, and this week as a 21-point favorite at home against South Carolina, they struggled. I'll tell you like this: first things first, for Alabama, their intensity has to change. You look at it, you look how they were, just gouged by Vanderbilt's defense. They were outgained in that game. The same thing today against South Carolina, but most importantly, it's their run defense. Okay, Vandy ran the football successfully against Alabama last week. South Carolina ran the football successfully today against Alabama. We did see the Crimson Tide step up and make those key stops when they needed to. On the offensive side, Jalen Milroe's got to protect the ball better. He threw 2 interceptions today. He's got 4 on the season, and all 4 of those interceptions have come in the last 3 weeks. And of course, the key one last week, which got Vanderbilt's momentum going for them with that pick six early on in that contest. I will say this: they survived. Bama did. Okay, you got the win. Now you try. Now you got to try to find a way to build off of this. And the reason why I say this is because the schedule is going to get a lot tougher in the next couple of weeks if you're Alabama. You're on the road next Saturday in Knoxville to take on Tennessee. Not going to be an easy game. You come back home in 2 weeks for Missouri, and then you're at LSU. Okay, that's a tough stretch of a contest right there. And Alabama has to play better. They've got to run the football better, and they've got to go out there and stop people running the football as well. I know that there's probably going to be some people right now that 2 weeks ago they were singing the praises of new Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer, and they're not singing the praises right now. I totally get it, as he is the guy who was replacing a legend in Tuscaloosa in one Nick Saban. But with that said, even if you followed, uh, Kalen DeBoer's Washington teams last year, a lot of their games were close. Okay, but they simply, found a way to grind it out. They found a way to win. Don't get me wrong; there is still plenty of talent out at Alabama, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Kalen DeBoer inherited a very talented defensive team. They did play better today, yes, but they still have to play better, and the team has to play better as a whole. And it's all about executing, not shooting yourself in the foot with the dumb penalties, you name it. But nonetheless, the Crimson Tide did survive. So, like I said, the schedule is going to get much tougher for Alabama. Winning conference games is never easy. Winning conference road games is never easy, as Alabama found out last week. And nonetheless, you got a South Carolina team that, under head coach Shane Beamer, you're going to have to pack a lunch in order to defeat. Now, coming into this game, I did say Alabama 37, South Carolina 20. I expected Alabama to have their struggles early and pull away from South Carolina late. It was Alabama starting strong, South Carolina roaring back, and Alabama really having to hunker down in order to get that W today. But nonetheless, the Crimson Tide, they're 5-1. Maybe they drop slightly in the rankings. I don't know. We got to wait and see how things play out for the rest of today, as well as what the rankings will look like tomorrow. But nonetheless, it wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, I am sure that plenty of people out there would take an ugly loss over a pretty win any day of the week. South Carolina gave Alabama all that they could handle and then some, but nonetheless, Alabama survived. And now the next step for them is a trip to Knoxville against the Vols. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.